I always had this really weird dream when I was a kid. In the dream I'd be lying in bed looking at the door. A huge dog, like a German Shepherd, is in the doorway. For some reason, the dog is pixelated. Kind of blocky, like an old video game. But it's not a cartoon. It's like a real dog but pixelated. It moves into the room but it doesn't move its legs, it just glides in. Turns, again not moving its legs. Glides up toward the head of the bed. Stops about 3 feet from me. Turns. Faces me. The pixelation melts, or blends together, and this hellish screaming dog face with eyes that are on fire lunges at my face, shrieking. Wake up. I also had this super vivid dream when I had pneumonia as a little kid. Super sick, really high fever. Pass out early in the evening when the sun is still up. Dream that I'm walking in the forest behind my elementary school. All my classmates are fucking around doing various things around me. My childhood crush is holding my hand as we walk down this path. It's a super innocent cute dream. My friend Sydney suddenly runs in front of us and jumps into a puddle. The second her boots hit the surface of the water, I'm ripped out of the dream by this huge clap of thunder. I'm instantly wide awake. I can't move. I can't open my eyes. What the fuck is going on? Someone's there? I can hear breathing. Lightning flashes and I can see it behind my eyelids. Something strokes the side of my face. I can't scream. It has long sharp nails and clammy skin. It fucking leans down and whispers in my ear. Yes. Yes. It hisses the words out. It's an old woman. It's a fucking witch. I manage to pry my mouth open and scream my fucking lungs out. Mom runs upstairs, helps me open my eyes. Fucking traumatized the hell out of me. My step-aunt was killed at Yellowstone last year. Hiking around Yellowstone with a bunch of family. Step-aunt and her kids, dad, and me and my brothers. We're following a guide that will take us around some really cool hot springs. It was all really beautiful and awesome, we had a super good time so we were all in really good moods. My step-aunt is like, hey, have you guys heard about hot potting? She tells us it's where you go and find a hot spring and bathe in it because it's really good for you. Automatically I think this is a really bad idea, but I don't say anything because I didn't want to be the killjoy. She gets everyone hyped up and we all start looking around the trail for any small pools. I tell my younger brother that I think this is a really bad idea and he says me too. We decide we need to tell someone. Suddenly we all hear my step-aunt start screaming and we all know it's bad. I've never heard a scream like that. We find her standing waist deep in this pool. The water is red. At first I think it's because of the minerals, but when I get closer I can see it's because she's being boiled alive. God, I really don't like thinking about this, but she was literally being cooked. Her skin was turning white and flaking off into the water and she was bleeding super heavily. She was wearing cargo shorts. The water was so hot it made the metal snap, basically fuse with her skin. She tried to take her shorts off but a bunch of the skin on her waist came with it. There was literally nothing we could do. We couldn't even get close to her. We tried making a rope out of clothes to throw to her but she couldn't move. My older brother ran to go get help so he didn't have to watch her die. I kind of hate him for that. I will never fucking forget her looking me in the eye, like she couldn't understand why any of it was happening. Eventually she started swaying and then she fell. By then she wasn't even screaming anymore. Worked construction when I was younger. Sent out to repave a residential road. It's a really rural area, early morning. Not a soul in sight. I'm using my roller, going a good steady slow speed. Sleepy so I'm not really paying attention. Suddenly, this little kid runs out from the tree line. Probably 3 or 4. I don't see him until it's too late. He ran right in front of me and I squashed him. He was so small he basically sank into the thick tar. I went into shock. I stopped the rig and looked around. No one saw it. No one is screaming. Literally no one saw it happen. So I made the dumbest decision in my life. I ran over him until I couldn't see him anymore. And I kept going. Half an hour later, a woman came by absolutely hysteric and asked if we'd seen her son. Nope.exe. To this day, that woman has no idea what happened to her son. He's literally right under them. I want to apologize, but I can never admit I did it. It's too late now anyway. Worst thing I've ever seen? Welder. Been on the job for about 10 years. I've seen a lot of shit. People are really fucking dumb when it comes to welding is basically what I've learned. Watched a guy literally fry his eyeballs because he forgot his face shield and didn't want to get in trouble. Worst was a new guy I'll call Dave. Dave is a really nice guy but is fucking dumb as shit. He has to be told every single day to follow even the most basic safety precautions. Me and everyone else is just counting the minutes until Dave fucks up so bad he either kills himself or everyone else. Working with Dave on a prefab project. We've been working for a couple hours, me holding Dave's hand the whole time. I have to take a break, tell Dave to work carefully until I get back. In hindsight, this was an even dumber decision than I thought. This is what I was told happened to Dave. Dave has been welding for a few hours. Dave's clothes are covered in shavings from the work. Dave does not understand that slag and metal splinters stick to fabric and have to be picked off manually. Dave gets a really good idea. Dave turns his blowtorch off to kill the flame and uses the oxygen as a blow duster to clean the metal off his clothes. Dave feels very proud of himself. Before anyone can tell him not to, Dave turns his torch back on and goes back to welding. The sparks start to fly. Dave, who has thoroughly oxygenated his clothes with his blowtorch, goes up like a fucking Roman candle. I heard the screaming all the way from the break room and I know it's Dave. Sprint back in time to see Dave running for the fire extinguisher while on fire. He doesn't make it that far. Dave has a lighter in his shirt pocket. Dave did not listen to me when I told him to take it out. Lighter explodes. Dave's clothes explode. Dave explodes. I grab the fire extinguisher and blast what is left of Dave with it. There isn't much. Most of his lower face is crispy. Skin is hanging off of his chest in big strips. Blisters. So many blisters. Dave is moaning. The inside of his mouth is totally raw. Dave inhaled the flames. He's coughing out all this fluid and pieces of his tongue. The kitty lock on his lighter, that little metal strip above the flint, has been propelled with such force that it has embedded itself in his eye. The fluid from it boiled and burned the socket and anything it touched on his face. Dave is gasping for breath. I know Dave is fucked. Dave dies before the ambulance can get there. To be honest, none of us really miss Dave. We, me, mom, dad, and older sister, were driving up to northern Michigan for a family reunion in the middle of summer in our old station wagon. Roads are pretty crowded because it's close to the 4th. A lot of really bad drivers are out on the road, or so Dad says, so we're taking it slow. I'm in the rear-facing seat in the very back playing my Game Boy. All our luggage is on the roof. Everyone else is talking and doing whatever. I occasionally look up to make sure I don't get carsick. Look up this time. See a bright red sports car doing like 80 coming up behind us. It's coming up fast. As it gets closer, I can see that something is wrong with the driver. He's slumped over the steering wheel. Start to freak out. Tell my dad that the car behind us is going too fast and that the driver is asleep or something. Dad tells me not to worry. He signals to move over a lane. As he starts to pass, the driver of the sports car wakes up. Sees that we're trying to pass him. I don't know if he freaked out because of that, or if maybe he thought we were on the road and he was skidding off the side. He jerks his wheel and starts to try and pass us or get ahead. Dad tries to correct but all the swerving makes him lose control. Front of the sports car clips our back bumper at high speed. Sports car driver loses control trying to correct. Our car is basically pit maneuvered. Our car is top heavy. We can feel it tilting to the side. Mom is screaming. Sister is screaming. Dad tells us all to hang on. Manages to steer us to the side of the road rather than traffic. I wish he hadn't. Car hits the side of the embankment and launches. Dad has no control anymore. Our car hit the ground and rolled about 20 times. Most of the luggage on top is crushed into the roof. Some flies off and breaks the windows. From this point I don't remember anything until the car came to a stop on its roof almost 300 feet from where the sports car hit us, except my mom shrieking and my dad screaming that he was sorry. I come to. The back of the car is crushed, one of my legs is broken. I manage to crawl out of my seat and I try to get into the front of the car. Sister is dead. Her neck is snapped at a really weird angle and her eyes are open. I'm sure I was in shock because all I could think was at least she won't scream at me when I'm taking too long in the bathroom anymore. Car is totally mangled, I can't see the passenger side where my mom was. It's been totally crushed in the rollover. Call for mom, she doesn't answer. Suddenly there's a hand on my arm. It's coming from under the steering wheel. Dad wasn't wearing a seat belt. He's basically been shoved into the space below the steering wheel. His head is partially crushed. Back is obviously broken. He is in a space no body is designed to fit in. He says something but I can't understand him. Beg him to help me. Beg him to stay alive. I can see his brain coming out of a crack in his skull. He says he loves me. That he's sorry. And then he dies. I don't really want to talk about this anymore. It took them about 3 hours to get me out. I was the only one that survived. The only reason I didn't die was because I was in the rear-facing seat. The sports car hit a truck and was basically run over, the driver died instantly. When they did the autopsy they found a ton of coke in his system. They think he was doing lines as he was driving. I honestly wish he hadn't died, he never got to face justice for killing my family. We were just trying to go on vacation. We didn't deserve this. 2009. Old bundle of sticks. Married. Our second child, Brandon, was sickly from birth. He couldn't sleep through the night due to all kinds of issues. At best, we were getting 4 hours of sleep a night. Felt like he never stopped crying. Then, one morning, it just gets better. Maybe his immune system kicked in as he got older. Goes from being a sickly newborn to a happy, quiet baby. Wife and I are relieved. Our lives get back on track. Our older son flourishes now that he has a fun baby brother and not a constantly shrieking housemate. I start working again. Wife starts doing classes during the week. Older son goes to school, baby goes to daycare. One night, my older son wakes up from a night terror screaming. Says something bad is going to happen to me. He won't calm down, insists that something is going to happen and that he doesn't know what to do. Eventually get him calmed down enough to get him a snack and send him back to bed with my wife while I sleep on the couch. Next morning, I'm groggy as hell, I'm not used to being woken up at night anymore. Wife is already gone by the time I get the kids in the car. The entire way there, my older son is a wreck. Says he just knows something horrible is going to happen to me today. He shuts his eyes every time we go through an intersection and tells me to be extra careful. He's had dreams like this before but I guess this one really got to him. Try to assure him that I'll be safe. Promise I'll come see him at lunch, my office is a block away. That seems to make him feel better. As soon as I drop him off, I remember that I have a lunch meeting. Call client and try to work something out. Successfully reschedule. By the time I finally park the car and get to work I've got everything straightened out. At lunch, I start to walk over to the school. As I go to cross the street, I remember that I promised him I'd be careful. Decide to wait for the walk sign instead of going for it like normal. Light turns, I go. Nothing happens. I have to admit, I was sort of hoping for something dramatic, like a car barreling through the intersection. At school, my son still doesn't seem like himself. Not sure what else I can do to help him. Talk to his teacher about it after we eat. She suggests I spend more time with him outside of class, just the two of us. Agree, explain about our newborn. How he was always very sickly until recently when he finally got healthy. I laughed. What a blessing it was to have such a quiet child now. We laughed. And that's when it happened. I froze. I woke up. I got the kids dressed. I put them in the car. I dropped off my older son. I rescheduled the meeting. I sprinted back to the car as fast as I could. This time I didn't wait for the light. It was almost the middle of June. I dressed him lightly in a t-shirt and tiny jean shorts that my wife picked out. They had suns out on one back pocket and buns out on the other. My wife loved it. I dropped my keys as I ripped them out of my pocket. A high of 85 today. I unlocked the car from 100 feet away. High humidity. I ripped open the back door. Clear skies. He was purple. No wind. The skin on the top of his head was blistered. No chance of rain. I had never dropped him off at daycare. In my office, I'd put on a sweater. The AC was cold that day. I put on a sweater, opened a window, and turned off the motion alarm on the car 3 times while my 14-month-old son baked to death not 500 feet from me. This is a strange memory I have from when I was young, and it raises a lot of questions. I'm about 12 to 13 years old. I find myself in my dad's truck late at night. It's cold outside and snow covers the ground in northern Michigan. I wait for him to enter the truck so we can drive somewhere. I'm not sure where we're going, I just know we're going somewhere, like maybe the store to go shopping. He enters the truck and pulls out of the driveway and begins driving down the road. He stops the truck suddenly as he sees through the window of my bedroom the silhouette of a man standing in front of the closed door, within my room. What the hell is that? He says under his breath. Who the hell is that? I laugh. I tell him it's nobody. What he was seeing was a life-size poster of a basketball player my mom had given me the day before. She got it for free from someone at her work. I didn't even watch basketball, but as a kid I thought the size of the poster itself was cool, so I put it up on the back of my door, so when the door is shut you could see the poster, and this door was lined up with the window. I explain this to my dad 2 feet away from him in the passenger seat. He completely ignores me and says again, what the hell, I have to check this out. The whole time he's saying this he's staring down the poster in my room. I tell him again, Dad, it's just my poster. Oddly, he still ignores me. He flings open the door to his truck and rushes inside the house to my room. He pounds on the door to my room and opens it with my mom at his side. My mom laughs and tells him he was just seeing my poster, so he calms down. I laugh and I say, see? That's what I kept telling you, but you never listened. He still doesn't say anything. Months pass and I have this funny memory in my head, and one day as funny conversations and memories get kicked up with my family one day during lunch, I bring it up and say, hey, remember that time you thought someone was in my room when we were in your truck when we went to go drive to the store at night? At first he looks confused and then says, yeah, I remember seeing the poster, but the store. I respond, yeah, the store. Remember I was sitting next to you telling you it was my poster, but you decided to run inside anyway. He then says we weren't going to the store, and you weren't with me? It wasn't nighttime either, I was driving to work really early in the morning when it was still dark when I seen that poster. When I hurried up and ran inside and opened your door to see who was in your room, you were still passed out asleep in your bed. I immediately got the chills as I realized why he never responded to me when I was sitting next to him in his truck. He never responded to me because I was never really there, he couldn't see me, or hear me. When I sat next to him on that cold winter morning in his truck, I was nothing but a ghost. To this day this weird memory has raised a lot of questions for me, and it almost makes me wonder if this happened to be a time in my childhood when I may have actually astral projected and never realized it. I clearly have that memory, and had I not brought it up again for the laughs I wouldn't have heard his side of the story and received the actual context of the scenario, so it makes me wonder how many other people may have memories that took place or seemed normal at the time without them realizing what exactly they were doing. 2007. Be 24-year-old me. Meth addict. Real piece of shit. Stealing to support my habit. High 24/7. Basically deranged. Will do anything to get cash. One night I can't come up with any. My usual spots know me and they'll call the cops if I even show up. Wander around various neighborhoods just thinking. Try to open the doors on a few cars but I set an alarm off and after that I was too chicken shit to try again. Go down a cul-de-sac. Notice a house with the front door cracked slightly. I think that's weird. So I go over and look. The deadbolt is thrown but it looks like the mat is stuck so they probably thought it was shut. Look around. No one sees me. Go into the house. It's really nice. I have no idea what I'm doing. I sit on the couch for a minute and just look around. It's a really weird feeling when you're in someone's house and no one but you knows. See a purse on the counter. Go over and grab it. She's got almost 100 in her wallet. Take the whole thing. Decide to take a look around. Turn to leave. A little girl is standing in the doorway. Her eyes are huge. Nearly shit myself. Realize I'm fucked. She's about to scream. Act out of sheer panic. Grab her and cover her mouth with my hand. She's struggling. Fuck, I just don't want her to scream. What do I do? Try to whisper to her to be quiet and I'll let her go. Twist her head up so I can say it in her ear. I honestly didn't mean to hurt her and no one will believe me. I killed her. She went limp and I dropped her. Heard her mom wake up. Sprinted out of the house. Saw her story on the news that night. She was declared dead at the scene. It was cold, so I was wearing gloves and a hat. They never caught me. I got away with it. After attempting suicide a few times I got clean. Got my shit together. I've been sober for 12 years and I can never confess. 2010. This happened when I was like 4 and it still gives me chills thinking about it. Camping with Dad in the woods near our house. Lived near a huge national park so we have tons of places to go. Decide we're gonna make a trip of it and hike in a ways. From the time we parked until we stopped for lunch, we didn't hear or see a single soul. We were completely isolated. Stopped to have lunch near an old riverbed. I start to get this weird feeling. I look over to see if Dad feels it too. He looks slightly worried. Something just didn't feel right. It felt like we were being watched. Suddenly on the opposite side of the riverbed a woman appears from the bushes. She's wearing jogging clothing and sneakers. She's smiling really big at us. Hi. She calls at us. Dad doesn't answer. I'm looking for my daughter. She doesn't say this in a worried way, though. More like a mildly annoyed way. I've been looking all over for her. Have you seen her? No, my dad says. She sort of hesitates. Never stops smiling. Hi. I'm looking for my daughter. She's gotten off somewhere, can you help me look for her? What? I'm thoroughly shitting bricks at this point. Dad says no again. More firmly this time. The woman just stands there, smiling at us. Dad says we need to go. We pack up our stuff and the whole time he keeps an eye on her. Sometimes she calls stuff like hi, and have you seen my daughter anywhere? Finally packed up and ready to go. Dad checks my pack. Turns to check on her. She's fucking gone. Never heard her leave. We get the hell out of there and back to the car as fast as possible. The thing about it that was so fucked, aside from the whole thing, was that she was wearing sneakers and jogging shorts. We were deep in backcountry. There is absolutely no way she got there in those clothes. She was so totally out of place, and it really fucked with me for a while. I asked my dad about it years later and he won't talk about it. 2009. On a road trip with parents, probably middle school age. Driving through rural Oregon. Basically all forest and mountains. No major towns along this route. In the backseat dozing off and not really paying attention to anything. Early evening but it's still light out. Parents are talking quietly. Suddenly Dad goes, "Do you see that?" Mom says yes. She sounds confused. I wake up at this point and kind of sit forward to see what's going on. Dad, is he wearing a ghillie suit? Mom, no, I don't think so. Still can't see what they're pointing at. As the car gets closer, Dad slows down. We're barely going 25 now. They can't figure out what they're seeing. Then I see it. Someone is walking by the side of the road really slowly. They're taking these weird, almost loping steps. They're covered in some kind of wool or fur or something. Very dark brown, almost black. Realize that whoever it is, they're fucking huge. My dad is tall, 6 feet 4 inches, and I knew this thing would be taller by at least 6 inches. We're almost beside it. Mom starts freaking out. Mom, speed up. Go around it. Dad is in a trance or something, he can't stop looking it at. We are literally right behind it. Mom is practically crying. Everyone in the car looks out the window as we pull up beside it. It looks back at us. It is not a person. It has no face, just hair. In the middle of where its face should have been are these 2 tiny beady black eyes. It looked right at me. It was predatory. It lunges at the car. Dad floors it. The thing doesn't chase us, it just goes right back to walking slowly along the road. Mom is crying and hitting my dad's arm and telling him he's an idiot for doing that. Dad is pale and won't even react. Pull off at the first motel we see, spend the rest of the night not talking much. Definitely the weirdest thing we saw that trip.